Good day, everybody. My name is Jason Abig. I'm CEO of the Greater Saskatoon Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Chamber's 116th Annual General Meeting. The Chamber team and the board and many of you are participating today from Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. Recognizing this historical connection to the land, now known as Saskatoon, is important to our city's future and our efforts as a chamber to promote Indigenous economic inclusion in our community. So from wherever you're joining us today, a warm welcome to you. As you will know, today's annual general meeting will be recorded so all members can view it later. And the voting procedure today is very straightforward. On key motions, the motions needed to move through the agenda and make key decisions, we'll be using the poll function on this Zoom platform. Many of you will be familiar with this, given the last several years. When it's time to call the question and vote, a window will pop up on your screen and you'll be able to vote, and we'll have the results in real time. If there are other motions proposed today, or if you have any questions, send them to the chair of today's AGM, Colton Wiegers, through the chat, and he will take them up in turn. So with that, let me turn things over to our chair, Colton Wiegers.
Thank you, Jason. It's good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Been a pleasure to serve as the president of the Greater Saskatoon Chamber of Commerce this past year, and I'm happy to be chairing this meeting. This could be, I was chatting with the chamber team just earlier in our prep, this could be potentially the last chamber board activity that I am chairing, pending if I have to step in during the regular year, but it's definitely potentially the last one that I'll have. So I'm pretty excited to be able to send off my time as the board chair and move into the past chair role coming up here. So it's my privilege to call this 116th annual general meeting to order. The agenda and meeting package for today was circulated earlier and also been posted to the chat to the download. The meeting package includes two parts: the audited financial statements of the Saskatoon Chamber and the 2022-2023 Chamber review of our operations and activities. And we're going to go over a lot of that obviously today. We'll refer to those documents as we move along. And please have a look at the minutes of the 115th annual general meeting. Are there any corrections or clarifications that anyone would have regarding the 115th annual general meeting minutes? Could I ask for a motion to accept these minutes? Oh, there we go. And we got the poll popped up. Thank you, Henry. Could I get a first mover? I can't see where folks are. Hold on. I didn't know people are going to jump off their mics.
Moved by James Lear.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, James. And my seconder?
Veronique Lowen.
Thank you, Veronique. And then could everyone please vote? And while everyone's getting that poll done, we've got an eager bunch here. I have someone sending a message about a couple questions, so I'll message them back right now. And of course, at any point, if you do have any questions or anything you want myself or Jason to address, just send us a direct message on Zoom. And the motion is passed. Thank you, everyone. So we'll go through the chair's report here and a few highlights, but wanted to just thank the Chamber board staff, members, sponsors, partners, volunteers for an outstanding year. I've been involved with the Chamber for quite a while now. This is the end of, on my board time, 7-year about journey with another year as the past chair. But as many folks here know, I was involved with the Junior Chamber of Commerce prior to in university too. So overall, it's been probably a decade of time. And I think I referred to that in my last column. We've been through a lot. I think that wouldn't be an understatement. There's been a lot happening in my time on the board, and a lot of the folks who are on the board today. You went through a pretty turbulent 3-4 years of, executive director change, COVID and things like that. There's so many curveballs that got thrown at us that I don't think we all expected. But for me personally, it's been an amazing experience. I'm going to talk about, again, some of the highlights of the past year, but in a general sense, my total time, I've found there's a lot that's happening behind the scenes, and a lot of work that the chamber team is doing, a lot of work that other board members are doing as well in the community, and the contributions they're bringing and the perspectives they bring because of what other activity they're doing in the community. So I'm really grateful to have spent the last years with the group of people we've had, the ones that have, been along for 4 to 6 years, and others who have just been on for a term. Everyone's still brought something great and an awesome perspective to the table. And for myself individually, it's helped me grow and learn a lot and get to know our city a lot better and our business community a lot better than I did. So I'm very appreciative of that. And I'm excited to share some of the highlights that we've got up on the slide here too, that we'll go through of just this past year. And again, there's so many more from the past, 7 years that I've been involved. But this past year was still a really big one. So I'm happy to go through a little bit here. We've got the slide up here where we talking a bit about by the numbers. So we continue to see growth in new members with another increase in 2022. Add another 10% increase over 2021 resulted in 125 new members added as of April. Overall, our total membership numbers remain stable with many small, medium-sized businesses still in post-pandemic recovery mode. And I know that we had a lot of an all hands on deck when the pandemic first hit, knowing the effect it was going to have on businesses, and that, we're one of those places that people need to look in when they're doing their budgeting and things like that. And really happy to see and to know that there was a lot of confidence and a lot of members that felt this was valuable and important to stick around with the chamber. So that's very promising to see that growth continue. This will be the 4th consecutive year with no increases in membership fees. The board has encouraged management to find savings and develop other revenue streams to keep chamber membership affordable and accessible for every segment of the business community, and most importantly, small, medium enterprises and owner-operated companies. So I'm happy to say we're continuing on that. We expect to see continued growth in new members through 2023. In 2022, we conducted a review of our sales process and strategy and seeing early success in new membership sales. We also implemented new initiatives to support member retention, which we believe will result in an increase to our overall membership numbers as well. Our visibility in the community has continued to increase sharply in 2022 to 2023. Across the board, we made gains in our earned media coverage, social media following, and e-blast response rates. This continues to solidify our position as Saskatoon's voice for business and biggest business network. And I think that it's not an understatement to say that we're in the digital age, and it's nice to see that the chamber has embraced that and thrived in that really well. So the 2 signature programs we launched in 2021-2022 year have grown in popularity and impact. The Totally Locally Market Hub and Shop Local campaign to drive more customers and clients to the doors of locally owned and operated businesses. This was a big one. This is one that, came to light throughout the pandemic, and the importance for us of highlighting the support that these businesses did need. I know that our board is represented by a lot of locally owned businesses, and our membership is represented by even more of them, right? And our economy flows and it's successful when we are all supporting each other in all the ways we can. So the Totally Locally Hub and the Shop Local campaign, I think, were just hugely important things that the chamber team did in a time of great need there. The other piece to our program highlights the UN92 series, with the goal of helping our business community take action on TRC number 92 and advance economic reconciliation in Saskatoon. And this one's been a great highlight for me too, in the sense that when I first got on the chamber board, I do not believe we had nearly the spotlight on this topic, and the amount of committees and members involved in discussions and initiatives that have been put forward in the last couple of years. It shows the progress, and I think having it driven by the chamber team is such a huge thing. It signals to the business community that this is important and we all need to get on side. So really happy to see the activity we've done there. And then uptick on our discount programs continues to rise, providing customer traffic to participating partners, and in some cases non-dues revenue streams for the chamber. With the freezing of membership dues for 4th consecutive year and these discount programs, our goal is to ensure chamber members see savings on their bottom line. Again, if you look at this list of logos here and you haven't tapped something here, please do look into it. There's a lot of great things that are happening that the chamber brings to our members that I think a lot of people aren't aware of or don't know about. So again, these are ways that you can support partners that support your local chamber. If you have a vendor in a different space, but you can work with someone that's working with the chamber, it's a great way to bring all of that, full circle to supporting our local community. Our event highlights. These are some of the best ones. Again, for anyone who's been a part of the events that we've had going on the past year, it's been a great back to business as usual. You could see a lot of energy in the rooms, a lot of more people coming out. Even once January hit, I think I was chatting with a few folks and said, there's so much happening and it's so worthwhile that you don't want to miss out. And it felt a little crazy for a few months compared to the last few years. And I think that the event team with the chamber really deserves a lot of kudos for getting a lot of great programming and events out there. So going over them, we deployed our Powerhouse and Power Up event streams in addition to our ever popular Chamber on Tap networking events and the UN92 events as well. And these have been awesome events that have featured local, local members and their expertise and such when they're presenting. We introduced Chamber Underground. So it's kind of, in my opinion, a bit of a spin-off of Chamber on Tap with a different type of vibe and group that it's attending that. And the goal is to connect with a segment of business owners and professionals who work in their businesses and find it hard to participate in other networking events. So big thanks to the Broadway Collective and Contrast HR for partnering with us to launch this new series. And again, it's just making the Chamber network more accessible to everyone that wants to be or is a partner. We introduced a signature new event for the Chamber, Pins and Pints citywide bowling tournament to replace our traditional golf tournament. It was a huge success. Anyone who was there, like within 10 minutes, I was telling Jason and Trina and the whole team, I said, we got to do this again. Of course, like everyone's already so excited. There's so much good energy in the room. And a big thank you to our presenting sponsor, Saskatchewan Blue Cross, for taking a flyer on this brand new event, and for Hunter's Bowling Center for working with us on the logistics and planning. Again, if you weren't there, it was a pretty big marvel of, all the different details that were thought out, the little contests and games and activities, the networking component of it. I could speak truly, I haven't been to an event that was that interesting and innovative, and I'm glad that we're going to be doing it again next year. On that event too, portion of the proceeds was donated to Kids Sports Saskatoon to ensure local kids have the means and opportunity to participate in local sports. And they had a lot of volunteers that were out and people from their group that were at the Pins and Pints event, just drumming up interest and raising money and doing raffles and things like that. So it was really great to partner up with them. The Chamber Sabex Awards, Saskatoon's premier business awards. We grew in audience, attendance, sponsors, and applicants in 2022. So to keep the event fresh, we'll be introducing some changes in 2023. Keep posted for that. It will be another good one, I'm very sure. We're also proud to partner with the NSBA on our second annual Funny Business event in April, which was another great success. Planning ahead for Funny Business number 3 coming up. Maybe I go to too many of these. I'm a fanboy, but this one was also an awesome one. We were able to do a board dinner with the NSBA board and the Chamber board, just to, again, solidify that connection. I'm sure a lot of people on this call probably have been lifelong members of both organizations. So I think that the evolution of this event is just a partnering between two groups that are really working to do the same thing and have the same aligned goals of growing and helping the city and our business community here. Well, there's a few more listed as well too. We had our State of the City just this week, which went off really well. But again, keep an eye out for anything. There's always a couple events every month. You go, and if you're looking at this list and you think I haven't heard of that or haven't seen that, please keep in tune with what's going on here, because a lot of great events, you're going to bump into different businesses featuring local businesses. This is really what we do. So I encourage everyone here to try to get out to some stuff coming up here. So this is a big part of the Chamber that for me, I would say pretty confidently before getting more involved in the board, I personally didn't see this activity as much as I did once I got more involved. To me, a lot of what the Chamber did and what I participated in prior to getting more engaged with it was the events, right? It's where you meet people, it's where you get business opportunities, it's where you get inspired. But the advocacy piece is, if not, equal, if not a bigger part of what the Chamber is doing for this business community. And the Chamber continues to be Saskatoon's leading voice for businesses on a range of local issues. So notably, the Chamber led efforts to relocate downtown shelters and help work with participating groups to figure out the best fit for helping out our homeless, the people homeless in Saskatoon that was aligned with business interests and things like that for downtown. Advancing the downtown entertainment district project. This has been a huge one. Again, if anyone's watching, we've had a number of events that have highlighted discussion around this. For anyone who's involved in the Chamber Network, if you are eager and excited about learning more, keep watching. We will be very active on this front for quite a while here. And I believe personally that it's a great move. I know when I do a lot of work with SIPE, Saskatchewan Young Professionals and Entrepreneurs, that generation of next business leaders are very enthused and excited. And we actually did an event that talked a bit about this as well, the downtown entertainment district. So there's a lot of alignment and a lot of folks that are very much wanting to see this go the distance. And it's great to have the Chamber leading the charge and helping us get through things. And then the last major one that we dealt with, and I feel like all of these happened, to be honest, in the last 3 months, the raising issues of air service for Saskatoon. This was a big one. This was one that we took some shots and we decided, when we got the news that Air Canada was withdrawing the service to Calgary and we and other major cities, there was national coverage and attention on the airlines. We're pleased to see the return of the direct flight to Minneapolis, thanks to large efforts of the airport officials and incentives provided by the province. But again, we just were talking this week about the possible WestJet strike, and I think it highlighted the important risks that Jason and the Chamber team put together in terms of why this is actually a big issue that Air Canada left. And we threw some punches on that. And it was something that, from a board level, I can say we didn't know how things exactly would shake out, like what the response we would get and things like that. So we'll keep sharing, of course, updates as that come across on this Competition Bureau piece. But I'm very happy with the response that I received personally from the business community of people saying, hey, this means a lot. You stood up for something that affected all of us on a business level, but on a personal level too, right? And again, it highlights the potential risk we face when we're getting access cut off. So I'm happy to be part of a board that had the guts and the courage to say, no, we're not going to take this sitting down. We're going to raise a bit of a stink about it and get some attention on it too. So that was a big one that we were working on the last 4 months, and we really appreciate, of course, the business community's support and the membership support in the actions that we took there. Our advocacy priorities in 2022 to 2023 will focus on, again, going outside of those main highlights, the needs of small and medium-sized businesses looking to grow, competitive and connected air service for Saskatoon, as I mentioned, modernizing and reforming the commercial property tax model, shoring up the competitiveness and capacity of our tech hub, making sure we get the downtown and event and entertainment district right, minimizing business tax increases as the city enters its next 2-year budget cycle, and optimizing Saskatoon's Indigenous and newcomer advantage. And again, there's so many things on there that I would gather a lot of members wouldn't know that we're working on, right? And that's the enlightenment I got when I got more involved in the Chamber Board, is how many things are going on behind the scenes that maybe don't directly affect me and our business, but they affect our business community. And the business community thrives and succeeds, we're all better off for it, right? So really appreciate the efforts from the entire Chamber team to be advancing these issues forward. We'll move along to our financial report, the most anticipated part of every AGM. So I'll now call on Joe Gill, First Vice Chair and Chair of our Finance Committee, to provide a report on the Chamber's financial position and audited financial statements. And Joe, a couple of questions I received were in relation to the finances. Would you like me to put those out after you go through the report?
Sure, let's run the report, and then happy to take any questions at that time.
Perfect. And if anyone thinks of anything while Joe was speaking, just send them over to me and then I'll queue them up for him.
Absolutely. Well, hope everybody's doing good today. The financial statements were circulated as part of the meeting package, and all the participants should have a copy of those. In those, you'll find the financial statements for the Chamber's year ended December 31, 2022. You'll also find our auditor's report from McClellan DeBouche. I'm pleased to report we have a clean audit, or a clean financial bill of health. Stated in accountant, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Chamber as at December 31st, 2022. So let's get into some of the financial highlights from that report. So budget targets for 2022 were met. We increased gross revenue by $54,671, and we finished the year in a surplus position. As mentioned earlier, we continued to freeze membership fees, but saw a 4% increase in membership revenue, thanks to acquiring 120 new members. So congrats and welcome to the new members. Non-dues revenue also increased, a 4% increase in rebates and royalties, and a 7% lift in event and program revenue. We were able to completely fill the budget gap left with the cessation of COVID rent and wage subsidies from 2022. And we continued the cost control measures that we introduced in the 2020-2021 budget, which have contributed to a very strong cash position for the Chamber. With that, then, given the strong cash position we are in, we have been working on a new initiative, the creation of a new special projects and stabilization fund that will be used to stabilize Chamber operations in the event of another pandemic, let's hope not, or economic crisis, and it will support special projects required by the membership. Board is currently working on a terms of reference for that reserve fund. We're also exploring investment options. to maximize returns while maintaining liquidity and opportunities to draw on the fund should the need arise. And I will also just highlight before we get into questions, as far as the 2023 budget and approvals, no membership fee increases. Event ticket amounts were kept under $100. We are optimizing new member sales strategy, maintaining our focus on cost control, intensifying our direct outreach to members to enhance retention, reinvesting in our employees and our team development at the Chamber, and adjusting wages and benefits for market conditions. With that, Colton, sounded like we had some questions.
Yeah.
Happy to field those.
Yeah, I'll jump to the questions here, but again, I want to highlight that, the efforts being put in is making the Chamber more accessible for everyone. And I think that's a big and important thing as our business community grows. So really I appreciate that mandate that the Chamber team has and that the board continues to have as well. And like you said, we do have a couple questions here. So Joe, for you, on the financial report, what is the risk profile on aged receivables on membership?
Yeah, so we, this was noted. I'm just going to go and grab our point here. I believe we're in a good position relative to our receivables. I would just note, in the audit report, which everybody should have a copy of, particularly in the notes, we didn't have any sort of specific highlights drawn by the auditor on that given point. Of course, we always monitor sort of ongoing receivables. I know if we sort of take a historical view on that point, obviously, age things like member dues sort of arising out of post-pandemic, et cetera, were something that, if we go back some time, were an item that we kept a close and watchful eye on. But at the same time, we were also trying to draw concessions for businesses at the time and not ensure that the Chamber itself was acting as a financial burden on any of our members, et cetera. So if there's a specific question or a follow-up on that one, I'd leave it at that comment.
Yeah, and I'll let you know if there is. I would echo what Joe says, really well said, Joe, and that, there was a lot of cleanup done during COVID that addressed anything that was very clearly, hey, this is probably not coming in. Like everything's been looked under a microscope for a little bit. So I think that we're in a pretty strong position as per the risk profile for that. But we could follow up with any extra context if needed. The second question was, are there any grants still outstanding for payment? Are any of the grants still outstanding for payment?
I do not believe so. I think we've largely cleared up our COVID era grant amounts. You'll see references to government assistance in one of the notes to the financials on page 16 of the package. You'll largely see, obviously, that as we moved into 2022 from 2021, the number largely decreased on that end of it. I believe all of these items have been largely cleared up. We've spent a lot of time looking at sort of the financial picture and trying to control for, the Chamber, like many small businesses, trying to remove a bit of that artificiality at times as a result of COVID era repayments. I see we've got Mr. Abig confirming, yes, everything has been paid and the Chamber has no loan or financial liabilities associated with that. But again, I guess I would just for the membership's benefit and whatnot, obviously, I think like many of the businesses on this call, we're making financial decisions and we're trying to do those in what we view as sort of the resting state and the most likely outcomes for the Chamber going forward. And what that means is having an appreciation of some of those programs that we were benefactors, recipients of in 2021, but anticipating that is not going to continue on a go-forward basis. And I'll be the first one to say that I hope we don't have another pandemic.
I was gonna say, Joe, don't you say that's like when someone says, oh, like, we're not gonna get another snowfall or something like that. You're jinxing it, maybe.
There we go. It'll be something else, Cole.
Yeah, something way worse, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. I know I'll leave a quick moment if anyone else had any other questions they might have been typing up or follow-ups to that. But I know from a general sense, I was involved in the finance committee when COVID first hit. And I could say quite confidently, we were all hands on deck and the fear of God of what's going to happen, right? I'm sure like many businesses and other groups were, in that you didn't really know how long this pandemic was going to last and the financial impact. So the place that we've gotten things from those conversations that I think Jason would remember maybe not too fondly, where him and I are talking to the accountant and think, oh my gosh, like what do we got to do? How long will the reserves last, to a point of quite a bit of financial strength, I think is very much worth applauding and is very much a good indicator that the Chamber is in very good health and leadership at this point. So I'm happy with that as well. That being said, if I don't see any other questions coming in regarding the financials, can I get a motion to approve the 2022 audited financial statements?
Carla Troback.
Firsted by Carla and seconded where that
Grace
person.
Mizika, Brunston.
Oh, perfect. Okay, we have those recorded there and the poll is out. Could you please vote now? Getting the results. Okay. Motion has been, the vote has been passed. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we have a few more motions for consideration by the membership at this AGM. The appointment of our auditor, signing authorities, amendments to bylaw 26 and bylaw 28, and admission of new members to the chamber. So I'm going to call for these, but if at any point during these motions you have a question or comment, please do send it in by the chat, or I can't see if anyone's got a hand up with the way the presentation mode is set up, but if anyone from the chamber sees anything, let me know as well. Could I ask for a motion to appoint McClellan DeBouchier as the auditor for the 2022 fiscal year?
Claire Marentet.
Thank you, Claire, and seconded by,
James
Aaron
Lear.
Lawson.
oh, we got a mix. I see Aaron on my screen though. Perfect. And the poll is up and the vote is passed. Those folks who are abstaining, I'm always curious. I don't know what, if we don't give enough info, but at the end of the day, it's passed, so we're good. Can I ask for a motion to approve the chair, first vice chair, second vice chair, and the chief executive officer as signing officers for the Greater Saskatoon Chamber of Commerce?
So moved, James Lear.
James is moving it, and then
I can second that.
I think that was Tammy there.
Tammy,
Perfect.
yeah.
And the poll is up. And the motion is passed. Thank you everyone for voting. We had an extra 4% abstain. That's because they saw Joe on the list, hey? So I have this one might incite some more discussion. So please, if you're thinking of anything, let me know before we get to the vote. But we have proposed amendments to bylaw 26 and 28, and they're intended to ensure the board of the chamber reflects and represents all segments of Saskatoon's business community. As the only business association that elects its board year over year using weighted ballot that affords larger businesses more votes, there's always a risk that the election results will produce a result that is underrepresented underrepresenting small businesses, certain sectors of the economy, or businesses owned by Indigenous, newcomer, and women entrepreneurs. So the proposed amendments are intended to address that risk by enabling the board to appoint directors and enhance the board's representation.
Clarification before the vote. What is the amount of appointed directors versus elected?
Like in proportion, it very much, and I can let Jason or Wanda follow up to this too, but the vast majority are still being voted in. I believe we had we capped it at 2 people or 2 appointments, and for what it's worth too, there has been a past precedence where we've appointed certain roles that we feel there's skill gaps, more so than representation gaps, more like we don't have this specific skill set on the board rather than a person who represents a certain type of community there. So yes, Jason just verified there, up to 2 appointed on a board of 13 seats. So the majority, of course, still being elected.
And so the bylaws would reflect that cap.
Yes. And Jason or Wanda, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, they do, actually. Yeah.
I did get a message asking if this was in the bylaws prior. And what we found is that it wasn't specified. This wasn't laid out in the way that we're laying it out today, I guess, simply put, in that we didn't feel we had the full mandate as a board to do so. Again, I've been on part of it where there has been a situation where we've appointed, for example, the next elected person. If we know when there's someone who's dropped out, we won't hold a special election. Things like that have happened before, but we didn't feel that the wording and the way it was represented gave us the ability that we thought this would. So to answer the question that was sent to me, this wasn't written in in its form today. Does anyone have any other questions or thoughts around this bylaw change? Okay. Seeing none, could I ask for a motion to approve amendments to bylaw 26 and bylaw 28 of the Greater Saskatoon Chamber?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Graham Snell.
Oh, there we go. Graham to move and seconder.
Shayna Linden.
Shayna, thank you both of you. And the poll is up and the motion is passed. Thank you, everybody. Our last of the set of motions here are new members. So as we noted off the top, we're pleased to welcome over 100 new members to the chamber this year. Here on your screen is the list of businesses and organizations that have satisfied all requirements of membership. So in keeping with our bylaws and to make their membership official, we'd like to take this opportunity to formally admit and welcome them to the chamber. There's not an opportunity for you to find someone you don't like and say, I object, I don't want them included. We're happy to welcome all of these folks here. I appreciate all of their support to the chamber and to the local business community. And could I get a motion? Could I ask for a motion to admit all new members who have expressed interest in joining the chamber since May 2022?
Trevor Jasic.
Trevor, thank you. And seconder?
I'll second it, Colton. Evan Drisner.
Evan, thank you, Evan. And the poll is up and the motion is passed. Thank you everyone for voting. I'm very happy to welcome these officially this new batch of chamber members, and hopefully we'll have an even bigger list to bring in next year. So next on our agenda is the swearing in of the board officers for 2023 and 2024 year. One of our incoming officers was unable to attend the meeting this afternoon, Joel Peterson. As many of you know, Joel is a very busy gentleman and he's out on the road quite a bit, so he was not able to join, but he is our incoming second vice chair and will be sworn into office at a later date by an ordinary motion of the board. All of the other officers are present today and will proceed on that basis. The Federal Board of Trade's Act, the act that establishes our legitimacy and mandate, requires that we have a commissioner of oaths, a judge, lawyer, or the mayor preside over these. I know we've had the mayor in previous times too. And for that reason, we are grateful to have Colin Hirschfield, partner with McKercher LLP, join us today. Colin's practice and legal expertise includes advice to and legal representation of provincial and national corporations, provincial and municipal governments, boards of education, and financial institutions, among other areas of professional practice. He became a partner at McKercher LLP in 2005 and was honored with a Queen's Counsel appointment in 2016. Well, good list or good resume there, Colin. So thank you very much for joining us this afternoon and presiding over this part of the agenda, and I'll pass it over to you.
All right, thanks, Colton. And I can solve at least one abstention mystery for you. That would be me. I'm getting an option to vote, but I'm not voting on anything. So that would be at least part of the abstentions. I'll now ask the incoming secretary, Wanda Waldner, first vice chair, Joe Gill, and chair Tanis Taylor to please raise your right hand as I read the oath. And please say I do after me. And what I'll do to make it simpler is I will call out your name after I read the part of the oath. And if you can just say I do after that. So do you solemnly swear to uphold the oath of office as secretary, first vice chair, and chair of the Greater Saskatoon Chamber of Commerce? Wanda?
I do.
Joe?
I do.
Tanis?
I do.
Thank you. Please say I do after me. Do you swear that you will faithfully and truly perform your duty as secretary, first vice chair, and chair of the Greater Saskatoon Chamber of Commerce, and that you will in all matters connected with the discharge of such duty do all things and such things only, and as you shall truly and conscientiously believe to be adapted to promote the objects for which the said chamber was constituted, according to the true intent and meaning of the same, so help me God? Wanda?
I do.
Joe?
I do.
Tanis?
I do.
Congratulations to all you, and I'm sure you'll do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Wow, it's so much easier for you. I remember we did this before and we had to reread all the things that Colin went through, and it is very difficult. It's like a 5 words at a time, and you guys just get to say I do. How the times have changed, I guess, hey? So thank you, Colin, and congratulations to the executive officers sworn in today. I look forward to working alongside you as past president, and of course in our past years of working together here too. So we'll move on to presentations. And before we close today's annual general meeting, I'd like to recognize our outgoing board members who have contributed so much to the chamber and business community during their time with us. So Todd Denson with Nutrien, Gabe Lafon with Luther Care Communities, and Graham Snell with Merit Contractors Association of Saskatchewan. And I've gotten to know these three individuals quite a bit. Expertise, the perspective they bring, the community work that they all do outside of the work with the chamber has been invaluable to our group. So thank you very much for your time here. We know that you're individuals who are very tapped, as well as everyone else on the board today that are very tapped doing a lot of things. That's why you get involved, right? Because you're not someone who sits around and doesn't do too much with their spare time. You want to figure out how to give back and get involved and help out. So really appreciate all the efforts that these three have put in during their time on the board. Each one was recognized and thanked with a parting gift following our last board meeting not too long ago. Now, though, perhaps the most important presentation of all, it's my pleasure to formally pass the president's gavel to incoming chair Tanis Taylor. This is the actual gavel, I'm pretty sure too, because I see some of the names there. But this is our digital gavel. You don't get to actually pick up the real one until maybe go back to the board meeting. But this gavel has passed through the hands of Saskatoon's business leaders for decades, transferring responsibility for the success of our business community and our chamber year over year. And I'm especially excited to, before I send this over to Tanis for some remarks, to just share, a bit about my relationship with Tanis. And she mentioned it in our board meeting actually, but I told the story last year at this time when I was being brought onto the chamber as the chamber chair, and how the person passing the gavel to me, Graham Snell, was someone who I got to know very well and involved with on the executive, and Jason Abig, who was involved in the board before becoming the CEO. So it felt fitting to have both those two very involved in my, coronation, if you want to call it that. And then to be able to share this and turn it over to Tanis. And she actually I got involved, like I mentioned, with the junior chamber back in university. And we went to a session that was being hosted at Prairieland Park. And it was a strategy planning session that had stakeholders and members. And Jason, with his time at Creative Fire, was actually the group that was leading that half-day thing. And at the time, I wasn't involved in the business I'm involved with now. And I connected with Tanis after. And she just, if anyone who knows Tanis, this is how she is. She's always willing to give her time, her perspective, her connections to help out. And she, on a whim, went and did a lunch or a coffee with me. And it's probably one of my first, business connection meetings that I developed at that point. And just such a warm welcome for me to the business community, and a person who was listening to the business that I was working on during university, and with a friend of mine, giving me thoughts and insights, offering different ways of connecting and things like that. And this is, again, maybe I look like I'm composed to know what I'm doing today, but I could guarantee you that 9-10 years ago, I was definitely more of a young punk, and Tanis was the person who said, hey, there's, you can keep doing this, get connected, get involved, and was the first to extend that olive branch to me, and really said, a very warm welcome to the business community that I've remembered since. So again, a very fitting passing of the gavel. As many of you know, Tanis is someone who's wholeheartedly gives all of her effort and time and energy into the business community, not just with the chamber, but many other groups and opportunities as well. And she's one of the first people who's putting her hand up to say, how can I help more? How can I contribute more? And how can I help you, if she's the person that you're getting introduced to or meeting at an event? So very, very happy to have gotten to know you, Tanis, over these years, and for our history together, and be able to conclude my time on the chamber board by passing it on to you. So that being said, I'll turn things over to you.
Oh my goodness, Colton, I forgot about that meeting with Bo Painting. It's all coming back to me now. Thank you so much for those very, very kind and generous words. I'm really grateful for that. And also, I really want to thank everyone else who's joined us today. You're all busy people, and you made time to participate, and we are all very grateful for that. And Colton, back to you. You have been an inspiring leader in your role as chair of the chamber and within the broader community. Through your incredible network, spanning generations and industries, you've brought the board invaluable insights and opinions, elevating the board's awareness and understanding of businesses' issues. Importantly, you have the best ideas for social events, reminding us that play hard is as important as work hard. Your commitment to the chamber, its members, and all stakeholders is inspiring. We've all benefited, and we're all grateful for the energy you've invested in the chamber. And I can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you very much. And for those of you who aren't aware, it's a long-standing tradition at the Chamber to present the outgoing chair with a framed caricature as a reminder of his or her time as the leader of our board and business community. And the caricature is always intended to capture the essence of the person. So in this case, while Colton looks relaxed, he's had a very busy and challenging term as the president of the Chamber, as you will have heard from his remarks. This caricature, as an aside, reflects only a small portion of the many activities Colton is involved in. He is a busy Renaissance man. If we were to capture them all, it would have been that entire poster that's behind him would have been filled with even more activities. And we actually had, fortunately, we had an opportunity to present Colton with his caricature in person at our last board meeting as a token of our very sincere appreciation and gratitude for his leadership over the past year and his involvement in the Chamber over all these very many years, as he mentioned. We only get to where we are because of that sort of tenure.
And I'll jump in quick. I don't know who the artist of this is, but so many people said, "Oh my God, that looks just like you." And I asked the Chamber, I was like, "How did you figure all this other stuff about me?" They did a lot of good recon, calling friends and saying, "What should we put in this photo?" So very much appreciate it. Have it in the office now. And thank you as well, Tanis, for the words there and for the gift.
Now, and as Colton mentioned previously, this isn't goodbye, it's sayonara to him. He will continue on the board as past chair. But for now, it's my pleasure to congratulate and thank you for an outstanding year. It's now my privilege to introduce everyone to our 2023-24 Board of Directors. Todd Antill from Nutrien, Louis Assant, AODBT Architecture and Design, Stephanie Klovchuk from Discover Saskatoon, Joe Gill, who you met earlier, McKercher LLP, Trevor Jasek, Midwest Group of Companies, Shayna Linden, Ride YXC Cycle Studio, Claire Marentet, PCL Construction Management, Joel Peterson, Fitness 2J2, Tammy Sweeney, TCU Place, Wanda Waldner, National Bank of Canada, and Jessica Yashishin from Stantec. This is an outstanding group. To those of you who are newly elected to the board, thank you for letting your names stand for election this year. And for those of you returning, thank you for your continued leadership and service to our business community. And with that, my first order of business as chair is to bring this meeting to a close. So may I ask for a motion to adjourn the 116th annual AGM of the Greater Saskatoon Chamber of Commerce.
Veronique Loen.
Thank you, Veronique.
And Wanda Waldner as second.
And if everyone wouldn't mind voting, and the motion has passed. So thank you everyone for joining us. Please be sure to follow the Chamber's latest news and events on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube using the same handle for all of them at the Chamber YXC. And watch for the Chamber check-in e-newsletter every Wednesday in your inbox. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you again soon.